In the middle of the vast open ocean, aboard a luxurious cruise liner, an incident occurred that no one could have foreseen, a shocking confrontation between a prominent public figure and a man with a personal vendetta that ran deep. What started as a serene, high-profile getaway quickly turned into a drama that would shake the passengers aboard, reveal explosive secrets, and expose the darkest corners of a hidden past. But the twists in this story don't stop at an unexpected altercation. What followed would send shockwaves through the media and beyond. It all began with Barron Trump, the son of former President Donald Trump, who had long lived in the shadow of his family's legacy. A quiet, private young man, Barron had always been under the microscope, his every move scrutinized by the media. This time, however, he sought refuge far away from the limelight, a chance to experience a rare moment of peace on a luxury cruise. What few knew was that Barron had not come alone. With him was a beautiful and mysterious woman, his girlfriend, whom no one had ever seen before. She had always kept herself out of the public eye, and their relationship was a secret that seemed to exist only in the hushed whispers of those closest to them. But as the night unfolded on that massive cruise liner, an unexpected storm brewed beneath the surface. Captain Elias Blackwood, a man whose towering presence and reputation as a seasoned leader aboard the ship had always commanded respect, had a secret of his own. What no one aboard the ship knew was that Blackwood's past was inextricably tied to Barron Trump's family, and that he harbored a long-brewing resentment. Blackwood had spent years plotting his revenge, waiting for the perfect moment when he could make Barron pay for the ruin he believed the Trump family had caused him. When that moment arrived, no one was prepared for the explosive confrontation that would unfold on that ship, especially Barron and Isabella. What happened next would leave everyone questioning their assumptions, their allegiances, and even their understanding of the truth. Was it revenge? Or something deeper, more personal? What truly drove Captain Blackwood to attack them? And how did Barron, known for his quiet demeanor, respond to such a sudden, life-threatening crisis? In this story, you will witness the unraveling of secrets, the shocking clash of power and pride, and a plot twist that will leave you reeling. Strap in, because what happens next will challenge everything you thought you knew about revenge, redemption, and the fine line between them. The night aboard the luxury cruise liner was supposed to be like any other. The soft lull of the sea, the elegant dinners, the sounds of laughter, and the clinking of glasses in the grand ballroom. Barron Trump and his secret girlfriend, Isabella, had slipped quietly under the radar, keeping to themselves in the calm away from the public eye. For Barron, this was a rare moment of peace, an opportunity to escape the relentless scrutiny that came with being the son of one of the most controversial figures in modern American history. Isabella, beautiful and enigmatic, had always been careful to stay hidden from the media. Though their relationship had been a well-guarded secret, there was something undeniably powerful about their connection. Isabella was a woman who could hold her own in any situation, never faltering, never showing vulnerability. Barron found solace in her presence, and as the evening stretched on, the two were content, nestled away at a quiet table, their world confined to the few hours they had left before the reality of their public lives would call them back. But lurking in the shadows was someone with a deep grudge, Captain Elias Blackwood. A man known for his commanding presence, Blackwood was the sort of captain whose mere gaze could silence a room. He was everything one would expect from a leader of the high seas, confident, authoritative, and seemingly impervious to stress. However, beneath his composed exterior lay a past filled with bitterness, resentment, and a thirst for vengeance. Years before, Blackwood had been a key figure in the corporate world, a man who had earned a reputation for his strategic mind and sharp business acumen. But all of that came crashing down the day Barron's father, Donald Trump, rose to power. Blackwood's fortunes crumbled under the weight of political and financial decisions that went against his interests, and in the wake of those losses, he was left with nothing. The world had forgotten about him, but he had not forgotten the Trumps, and particularly Barron. For Blackwood, this cruise was not just a job. It was his chance to finally confront the legacy of his ruined career, to make Barron Trump feel the same helplessness and loss that had tormented him for years. He had been waiting for this moment, planning it meticulously. And as the cruise continued its journey, Blackwood's resolve only grew stronger. The night arrived when Blackwood finally decided to act. The sea was calm, the sky clear, and the stars gleamed overhead, a deceptive sense of tranquility cloaking the ship. Barron and Isabella were in the dining room, enjoying a private moment as the world outside the walls of the ship passed by unnoticed. But little did they know, their peaceful evening was about to be shattered by the storm that Blackwood had set in motion. Blackwood had been watching them for hours, his eyes never leaving Barron. He had observed the quiet intimacy between the two, the way Isabella's laughter seemed to lighten Barron's demeanor, and the way Barron seemed at peace for the first time in a long while. The sight only fueled Blackwood's rage. Barron's calmness, his ability to move through the world untouched by the consequences of his family's actions, it was all too much for Blackwood to bear. Without warning, Captain Blackwood stormed into the dining room. His eyes locked onto Barron, and the atmosphere shifted. The hum of conversation and the clinking of cutlery suddenly fell away, leaving only the tension in the air. Blackwood walked toward their table with deliberate steps, his boots echoing in the silent room. Barron looked up, recognizing the man instantly, but he did not flinch. He was used to confrontation, to being the object of attention. Still, there was something in Blackwood's demeanor that sent a chill through him. Isabella stood, sensing the sudden shift, but she didn't move away. She, too, could feel the tension, and she knew that something was coming, but she couldn't predict just how explosive it would be. The captain's voice, when it came, was low and menacing. "Mr. Trump," he said, his tone laced with venom, "it's time we have a little conversation. Your family destroyed me, and I'm here to make sure you understand what that feels like." Isabella's hand instinctively moved toward Barron's arm, but before she could react further, Blackwood grabbed Barron by the collar of his shirt, lifting him out of his seat with a force that shocked everyone around them. The room seemed to freeze. Passengers stared in disbelief as the captain, a figure of authority and respect, manhandled Barron Trump, the very man they had all come to admire from afar. "You think you can just walk through life unscathed, don't you?" Blackwood spat, his grip tightening. "Your family's actions have consequences, and now it's time for you to face them." But Barron, who had been raised to remain composed under pressure, did not panic. He did not flinch. Instead, his eyes met Blackwood's with a calmness that unnerved the captain. "I'm not responsible for the choices my father made," Barron replied evenly. "And violence will not solve anything." Isabella, still standing, moved to Barron's side, her presence an unexpected source of strength. "Captain," she said, her voice clear and authoritative, "whatever personal grievances you have, this is not the way to settle them. Let him go." For a moment, Blackwood hesitated. His grip loosened slightly, and the tension in the air thickened. Was it the calmness in Barron's demeanor, or was it something in Isabella's voice that caused him to falter? Whatever the reason, the stalemate held for several seconds. Then, just as quickly as the situation had escalated, it took another unexpected turn. Isabella stepped closer, her gaze steady and piercing. "You're not the man you think you are," she said softly, but her words cut through the tension like a knife. "You're not a victim, Blackwood. You made your choices, and now it's time to face them." The words had an immediate effect on the captain. His face twitched, a flicker of realization crossing his features. But it wasn't just Isabella's words that had stopped him, it was the truth in them. The moment of hesitation was all it took for the ship's officers to rush in. Barron was gently set back into his seat, and the captain was restrained. The once imposing figure of Blackwood was now nothing more than a man overwhelmed by the weight of his own bitterness. But as the officers led Blackwood away, Barron turned to Isabella with a look that spoke volumes. It was a moment of clarity. He had faced the past, and, despite the storm, he had come out stronger on the other side. Together, they had weathered this confrontation, but more than that, they had seen something deeper in the man who had attacked them, a man broken by his own failure, his own inability to let go. The cruise continued on its course, but the night had shifted. What had started as a simple getaway had turned into something much more complex, and the fallout from that evening would ripple through their lives for a long time to come. The tension in the air had never been thicker. As Captain Elias Blackwood was led away by security, his mind still raced, his thoughts clouded with a mixture of anger and regret. For years, he had imagined this moment, his confrontation with Barron Trump, but it hadn't gone as he had envisioned. Barron had remained calm, composed, and unshaken, while Blackwood had spiraled into a mess of his own making. The captain had wanted to make Barron feel the pain of loss, of helplessness, but instead, it was Blackwood who had been exposed as a broken man. Barron sat there in stunned silence, the weight of the situation sinking in. He had faced down Blackwood with a calmness that surprised even himself, but the realization of what had just happened was slowly dawning on him. He had never imagined that someone would harbor such resentment against him, especially someone from his father's past. But as he looked over at Isabella, he realized that this encounter wasn't just about revenge, it was about something much deeper, something more personal. Isabella had been the key to this moment. It wasn't just her words that had stopped Blackwood, though they had been powerful. It was the way she had approached the situation, calm, yet forceful. She had seen the man beneath the captain's imposing exterior, and she had known exactly what to say to break through his walls. It was a skill that Barron had always admired in her. Isabella had a way of seeing the truth in people, even when they couldn't see it themselves. But while the immediate danger had passed, the emotional and psychological toll of the encounter remained. Barron and Isabella were shaken, but they were also stronger, more connected than they had ever been before. The attack had brought them closer together in a way that neither had expected. In the aftermath of Blackwood's outburst, there was a sense of clarity between them, a realization that their bond was something deeper than just a secret relationship. It was a partnership built on trust, resilience, and understanding. As the night wore on, Barron and Isabella remained in their private suite, unable to shake the events of the evening from their minds. They knew that the danger had passed for now, but the ripples of Blackwood's actions would be felt for a long time. Barron had seen the power of his family's name work both for and against him, and now, more than ever, he realized the complexities of living under that shadow. Isabella, however, had a different perspective. She had witnessed firsthand the depths of Blackwood's hatred and bitterness. While she understood Barron's need to distance himself from his father's legacy, she also knew that sometimes the past was something you couldn't escape. Barron had been born into this world, and no matter how hard he tried to break free, he would always be connected to the web of power, politics, and vengeance that surrounded his family. It was this realization that caused Barron to turn to Isabella in the quiet of their cabin. He had always been a man of few words, but in that moment, he knew he had to share something with her. "Do you think it's possible to truly escape our past?" Barron asked, his voice low and contemplative. Isabella, who had been staring out at the ocean, turned to face him. Her eyes were filled with a knowing sadness, as though she had already seen the answer long before Barron had even asked. "No," she replied simply. "But we can choose how to move forward from it." Barron nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. The attack had forced him to confront not just the ghosts of his father's past, but his own place in the world. He had always tried to carve out his own identity, separate from the chaos and spectacle of his family, but now he understood that some things could not be outrun. Instead, it was his responsibility to take what had happened and use it as fuel to create something better, for himself and for the people he cared about. Meanwhile, outside their suite, the cruise continued its journey through the night, the stars still shining above the ocean. The ship had become a microcosm of the world, a place where lives intersected, where secrets were revealed, and where the most unexpected events could unfold. For Barron and Isabella, it was a reminder that life didn't follow a script, and that the past, no matter how much we tried to outrun it, would always have a way of catching up. But despite everything that had happened, there was hope. For the first time in a long while, Barron felt as though he had the clarity to face his future on his own terms. The attack, as shocking and terrifying as it had been, had also been a catalyst, a moment that had changed him in ways he couldn't fully understand yet. And with Isabella by his side, he knew he wasn't alone in facing whatever came next. Back in the ship's corridors, the whispers had already begun. News of the captain's attack on Barron Trump had spread like wildfire among the passengers. But for Barron and Isabella, the whispers didn't matter. What mattered was that they had weathered the storm together. They had faced a threat that no one had anticipated, and they had come out the other side stronger, more united, and ready to face whatever came next. The ship continued its voyage, but for Barron and Isabella, their journey had only just begun. They had confronted the past, but the future was still unwritten. And though they didn't know what lay ahead, one thing was certain: together, they could face anything. The days following the incident aboard the cruise ship were filled with a deep sense of reflection. Barron and Isabella knew that the road ahead would not be easy, and yet, there was an undeniable sense of peace that had settled between them. The chaos of the night, the dangerous encounter, and the emotional turbulence all felt like distant echoes now. What remained was a stronger bond, an unspoken understanding that no matter the trials they would face in the future, they would confront them together. Barron, a man used to living in the shadows of his powerful family, was beginning to understand the true nature of strength. It wasn't in distancing himself from his past or his name, it was in choosing how to move forward, no matter the weight of legacy. The actions of Captain Blackwood had been a catalyst, but Barron's true awakening came from his own internal resolve. As he stood on the deck of the ship one last time before they docked, he looked out at the vast ocean stretching infinitely ahead. It was a symbol of the unknown, of challenges and possibilities that were yet to come. The waves, unpredictable and wild, reminded him of life itself, unpredictable, at times tumultuous, but always moving forward. Barron realized that no matter how far he ran or how much he tried to hide from the past, the ocean of life would always beckon him forward. Turning to Isabella, who stood by his side, he spoke with clarity he had never known before. "I can't control the past, but I can control how I navigate the future." Isabella smiled, her gaze as steady and unwavering as his own. "And together, we'll chart the course." In that moment, they understood that their journey was far from over. What had happened on that cruise ship, the confrontation with Blackwood, the revelations about family and legacy, it had all been part of a much larger story. A story not just of survival, but of transformation. The world, Barron now knew, would continue to test him. The name Trump would continue to loom large, and the weight of expectations would never fully leave him. But there was one thing he could be sure of: he would no longer be defined by his past. His actions, his decisions, his choices, they would be what defined him. For Isabella, the experience had only reinforced her belief in the power of resilience. She had stood by Barron through the chaos, but it wasn't just loyalty that bound her to him, it was a deep understanding of his struggles and strengths. They had both been shaped by their pasts, but they knew that they could not live in the shadow of it. The future was theirs to shape, and the future, though uncertain, was filled with endless possibilities. As the cruise ship finally docked, Barron and Isabella knew that their journey was only beginning. But unlike before, they no longer feared what lay ahead. The world might be unpredictable, but they had each other. And that, above all, gave them the courage to face whatever would come next. The lessons they had learned during this experience were simple, yet profound. 1. The past may shape us, but it does not define us. 2. Strength is not in running from our history, but in choosing how we respond to it. 3. True partnership is built on trust, understanding, and resilience. 4. No matter the storm, the sun will always rise again. As they disembarked, walking side by side through the bustling port, the whispers of the past no longer held the same power. They had faced their darkest moments, and they had emerged stronger for it. The future was still unwritten, but it no longer intimidated them. Instead, they faced it with hope in their hearts and the knowledge that, together, they could conquer anything. In the end, Barron and Isabella had not only survived the storm, they had learned how to thrive in its wake. The power of transformation, of moving forward with intention and strength, was now theirs to wield. And with that, their story had just begun.